Hi, everyone, and welcome to this recording today, which I have with Wyn Morgan from Wales. Welcome, Wyn.
Thank you very much. It's really good to be here with you, Cecilia. Really good.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that you wanted to do this because we decided yesterday
Yeah.
that we were supposed to do this. So I'm so happy for that. And I put a topic to see life more simple.
Yeah.
How can we do that?
How can we do that? Well, here's what I think. I think it is simple. But we are, as humans, really good at seeing things more complicated than they actually are. And I think we've got it in us that we want to make things more complex. We want to, I don't know, our intellects are so well developed. This brain that's in your skull, my skull, and 8 other billion skulls right now have this sophisticated organ inside them that is so amazing that sometimes it looks for problems to solve, and if there aren't problems, it'll make them up. Now, I don't know if that's true, but it seems very plausible to me that that's what we do, is that we complicate things that are inherently by their nature simple. I was thinking about it this morning. It's a beautiful morning here. I remember you saying just now that it's a beautiful morning there in Sweden as well today. So I had my morning coffee sitting in the garden. Now, okay, I had t-shirt, sweater, fleece, ski jacket, bobble hat, right? Because it was cold this morning. But I was sitting there in the garden with my coffee, just looking at the birds and the trees and the light coming up and the sun getting closer out of the shadows and stuff towards me, and having a really lovely hour. And as I was like doing nothing but enjoying my morning cup of coffee, I just remembered that how a lot of my corporate clients fight against simplicity, and they don't like simple. They want sophisticated, complex models of things that help to understand. And that just popped into my head this morning. And it just seemed to me as though, why do we do that? To the question that you just asked, why do we do that? I don't know, whether it's to kind of like show how smart we are, give the intellect something to do. I don't know. But it just seems funny that we do that.
Yeah, and I see that we also learn that early in life, that we must so much. We must be something and have a title, and we need education, and we have to fill our time. It's not that you can just be quiet and just look behind all this going on outside. You must follow all the time. You must follow everything, and you don't really know that there's a beauty in just sit with your coffee. It's like you don't feel that you can allow yourself to that.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there. I mean, I certainly, when I went to school, there wasn't the, what would the word be? It wasn't, peace of mind wasn't trained in a class. There wasn't a contentment class. There was the, hey, you better learn this in order for you to not have a rubbish job when you grow up, right? That was pretty much the, what I was told by teachers and by parents, relatives. That's what I was always told by grown-ups. Hey, do well in school so you don't have a bad job when you grow up. It's just like, okay. And I listened and I bought it as an idea, right? That was my motivation to kind of to listen to the teacher and everything. And I'm pretty sure there's a better way. But I'm not an expert in that, so it's beyond what I know and understand. But it's interesting what you just said, though, isn't it? That having that contentment doesn't come from anything other than, well, what I would call a quiet mind, and what we've heard from the enlightened man called Sydney Banks. He talks about having a quiet mind, and from that place, then contentment and simplicity is all there is, and noticing the beauty of things as opposed to trying to figure everything out. And I had no idea that that was free. I didn't catch on to knowing that that was free. I didn't have to do anything to feel how I always wanted to feel. It's that simple.
What we do know, it's how we let our thoughts running in a fast tempo, and we just go with it, and it feels so, all emotions, and we can't stop it. And both you and I, we were talking, Wyn, about bipolar.
Yeah.
It's like going up and down, up and down, up and down all the time, and you don't know what's happened because it's moved so fast. And if you don't know about the simplicity in just letting the thoughts be what it is, you go with it like a road, and you can't stop it, and it's like you believe in it all the time.
Yeah. No, to me, life would be quite dull if that didn't happen. It would be a very boring life. It wouldn't have the same richness of experience that I can see in life now for myself. So I wouldn't want to dampen that. I wouldn't want to deny those feelings. But understanding them is a life changer and a life saver, going back to something you and I talked about before we started recording today. It really does save lives. And I know countless people who would testify to the same thing, and I'm one of them.
Yeah, I do know now that every emotion that I feel, it's okay to allow, and that's a big difference. Because if you always try to be calm and happy and positive, it's a work to do, and that's not how life is.
No. I mean, I remember seeing, well, forever really, phrases like, what we resist persists. Phrases like that. And if we try and only have this set of feelings, then this will happen. And, it's not a good idea. But to see the absolute truth of that, of what makes that just like not the smartest thing that we can do, although I will do it again by the end of the day. I will try and change a feeling by the end of the day because I'm human. We're going to do it, right? But at the same time, it is work, given what you just said, right? It's mental activity. And if it's true that feelings, emotions come from here, come from thought in the moment anyway, then more thought is only going to make it feel bigger, a bigger deal. It's going to create more thought about the feeling, which is going to make the feeling more real and bigger and have a life of its own, like a snowball rolling down a hill. We're the ones that we don't even know that we're the gravity that's making it get bigger and rolling it down the hill. We're innocent to it, but it still isn't the best use of my mind and my time to change how I feel. Yeah.
No, I'm allowing myself to have everything. I can cry a lot, and I can get angry, and I can laugh and everything, but it's like people, I hear people in the 3P communities, they say, oh no, it's no, so you don't need to feel those feeling anymore. But for me, that's not true. I have it all, but I understand it in another way. So I I I don't get so afraid of those feelings. So I still cry, and I feel like there's a beauty in that too, because I feel for others and I feel for myself, and that's how life is.
That's it, in my opinion, what you've just said. So I remember talking to a group a few weeks ago, and we were talking about emotions and what they do when they're upset. And one of them said, I watched this movie called The Notebook, which I didn't know how popular that was. I've seen it. I think I saw it as a date movie, I think, because I wouldn't normally buy a ticket for that, for that kind of movie. But so what is it about The Notebook that you love when you're upset? Oh, I have a really good cry. All right. Okay, that's it. That's interesting. Cool. And I thought, yeah, we we do things in life that we can have these emotions that otherwise we would think would be bad, right? So I like roller coasters, horror movies, thrillers. I love the emotion of them. I love the feel. I love the, or I remember, I don't know how many years ago now, me talking with someone on a Saturday, and he was a skydiver and he did that for fun. And I was asking him about skydiving. Well, I got home that night on the Saturday and I bought um, to go skydiving the next day. I bought a pass to go skydiving the next day because I knew I would be really scary. So I paid £200 to get scared. And here I was inside my own mind for like 40 odd years, 40 plus years, really worried about feeling scared. And I paid £200 to feel as more scared than I thought I'd ever notice. We watch sad films. We watch all these kind of horrors and things to have the emotions. So it's kind of, I didn't know that that was the same as what we would do inside of ourselves, all of us. I didn't know that that was of the same energy and the same feel as all the things that were going on in my own head when I wasn't watching a movie and when I was not jumping out of a plane without a parachute. I didn't know any of that stuff. Yeah. So as soon as I started to see those things, I went, wait a minute, why would I be avoiding any feeling? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. You know, before we started recording, I was sharing something because we were talking about moods and so forth. So I wanted to share a little bit about that. It just came to mind now. So you know this about me, right? You know that I've had bouts of depression, and I've had bouts of depression since I can remember, right? Since I was very young. And I remember being very serious inwardly as a kid and taking myself and life seriously. I only wanted to be someone else or a different age. I remember I wanted to be 18 because I didn't want to be a little kid anymore. Then I wanted to be someone else. And it was more than fantasizing about being Batman or Doctor Who or anything, right? It was deeper than that, the little childhood kind of like playing games. I wanted to be somebody else other than me. And I had another depressive episode when I was 19, another one at about 27. And then probably a few smaller ones. I know I had a lot of smaller ones that weren't so deep and not so long lasting as those that I just mentioned. And they had a big old breakdown in my 33, 34, 35, around that age. And that's when I really needed help. That was the first time I was diagnosed with something and then was given medication. I was given three things. I was given antidepressants. I was given mood stabilizers, and I was given sleeping tablets, all for really good reasons at the time. Well, antidepressants because I was depressed. And, with the best will in the world, that was the best thinking that was available to the people I was talking with, who were lovely. And I would not have a bad word to say about the people who were helping me. My doctor, who then referred me to a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist then to a therapist. All three amazing. And I was on mood stabilizers because they noticed in my history of how up and down I'd been my entire life from various questionnaires that it asked me to do. And something that's now called bipolar 2, which used to be called cyclothymia. So I'd have some of the highs, but I'd have a lot of the lows. That classic bipolar, or what used to be called manic depressive. So manic depressive. I had some of the manic, but I had the depressive. And so mood stabilizers would make sense, right, to regulate those moods so they wouldn't be so extreme. It made sense to me at the time and to them at the time. And I was on sleeping tablets because I hadn't slept well for a year and a half. If I was having 1 hour a night of sleep, that was a good night. That was a good night to get an hour. So you can imagine a year and a half of that. I wasn't functioning well in the world. Wasn't doing great. My work was suffering. I was suffering. Everything was kind of like, I was barely keeping it together. But somehow I did. And I don't know how. Because right now, I can't imagine coping for that long with the noise in my head about what I was telling myself, feeling that low and not sleeping for that long. I have no idea how I managed that. It says something about resilience, I think. It says a lot about resilience, I think. But so now looking back at it, and I shared with you before we started recording today, that on Sunday I was low. Monday I wasn't great. Tuesday I was great. Most of yesterday, Wednesday, wonderful. And then the last hour, big old dip. This morning, started off within a few minutes of waking up really low and scared about lots of stuff in my life. And all the stories that go with that mood. And then, I don't know, by the time my water had boiled for my coffee, I wasn't even thinking about it. I felt fine. And I felt really good the rest of the morning so far, So some people would think, well, geez, that sounds like someone bipolar to me, Wyn. Well, to me, no, that's just a human being in moods. So going back to something that I think was really profound in what you said a few minutes ago, was something like it's my relationship with emotions and feelings. And when we understand them, in my mind, that's what's been life-changing for me and life-saving for me, is that, hey, I know what happens when I'm in a low mood. Things look really scary and dark and personal. What do I do about it? Well, as best as I can, I remember that that's just how things look down here. It's not how things are, it's just how things look. And how things look doesn't need to be changed, because it's just, I know it'll change. And I will constantly bounce back without me even knowing it or doing anything about it. In the way that I woke up on Tuesday feeling amazing. Confession, right? So, no, this is how different it is, isn't it? Confession. This makes all the sense in the world. So I remember popping out suddenly of a deep depression in 2008. And was in the spring of 2008. And I'd been really low. And I was still at that point taking mood stabilizers and antidepressants. And it was a Tuesday morning, I woke up for the first time in about a month feeling okay. So I was here in my office at home, because I've lived in this house, which is perfect for me for quite a while now. Pushing 20 years I've lived here. So I was in this office at home on this Tuesday morning, and I got my cup of tea. And there's a flip chart in this corner. And I wrote on the flip chart, what must I have done yesterday in order for me to feel good today? And I got up my pen and I wrote this list. And I still have the piece of paper because I find it interesting what I thought then 15 years ago. And it said things like, I did something good at work yesterday. I slept well. I had tomatoes for dinner. I kid you not, right? That's what it says. I had tomatoes for dinner. And probably 3 or 4 other things on there. And I looked at that list and I went, okay, copy paste. Took a photograph. That's what I need to do in order the next time I'm feeling down, I do those things and I will feel okay. Now I know that that list had nothing to do with the cause of me feeling better on the Tuesday morning. They were circumstantial evidence that looked like they were proof. But to me, with my kind of like detective hat on, I was thinking, well, here's the evidence. And this is I'll build the case to say that these are the things, this is the recipe for mood raising, right? I thought, geez, I could write a book about, here's the recipe for raising moods, right? Now, it wasn't long after that, a couple of years after that, that I came across the 3 principles by a beautiful accident. And, the early conversations with my then coach, then teacher, then mentor, now colleague and friend, Michael Neal. Dear friend, Michael Neal. But I didn't like the first conversation with him about this because I didn't make any sense to me. I was wanting to be fixed, and he said there's nothing wrong that requires fixing. And we went back and forth about that for a long time. And then I saw a little thing about thought. Wait, just because I think it doesn't mean it's real. Just because I think this about myself. And what I think isn't me. How could what I think be me? Just started to unravel slowly. And over the next couple of years, everything started making far more simple sense. That, hey, in a mood, we take things more personally. Everything looks like it's outside in. It looks like my circumstances, my stuff of life is the cause of my feeling. It looks permanent and it looks true. That's what happens in a low mood. And the effects of that are, we think and we have dark thoughts and we can take anything personally. It looks like there's things in life to be solved. And then, in the same life with the same person, this guy, minutes or hours later, oh yeah, none of those things look the same anymore because I'm in a different mood. And mood distorts what's really true. What's really true. It distorts what's true. Because to me, it's interesting that when I'm in a reflective, better, higher mood, all of a sudden, none of those things look like they've got any relevance to my life whatsoever, and I can just live. And there's things to do in life, right? Yeah, okay. I will need to brush my teeth or they'll fall out. If I'm thirsty, I will drink water. Yeah, if I need a little kick of caffeine because I'm feeling a little bit lethargic and I happen to love the taste of coffee, I'll have the coffee. I happen to love jasmine green tea as well. And there'll be tax returns and there'll be cash flow forecasting running a business. So all of those things, yes, they need to be done. And at some point attended to when the time is right. And sometimes the time is now. None of them are a problem. They're just things to do. And going back to the topic that I loved that you chose about this was let life be simple, or words to that effect, is that it is that simple. And what's funny, right? There's 2 books to my left on my desk here. One is And it has been the one that's been on my desk probably for about 5 years now, The Missing Link by Sydney Banks. It's the one that I don't know how many times I've read it with a little bookmark in it. And I read it with clients as well. And the other one is a book by Mavis Khan.
Yeah.
It's That Simple, which is, I don't think, a coincidence that every time I look at any of the chapters in there, which are letters that the wonderful Mavis Khan writes to the reader, a little love letter, the underlying principle is, yeah, life is really that simple when we understand it, when we understand how we work. Well, I've talked a lot now, Cecilia, so maybe it's your turn.
It's like you are your own drama queen, can I say?
Yeah.
That I heard that before when I was younger. Oh, you're so dramatic. You're a drama queen, and you can bring your thoughts into such a drama when you don't understand that you can leave it alone. It's just your mood going down, and you see the outside like, oh, everything is bad, and you don't want to be there, and oh, everything, it doesn't work for you, and if you haven't slept, or you haven't been eating something, or rest enough, the mood goes down, and you feel like all these motions, it's like it's drama.
Yeah.
But we go away with this movie, and it can be like such a film you like. It's
Yeah. Well, to me, right, even having a story about I'm hungry, or I've eaten the wrong thing, or I haven't slept enough, I think those are the same, they're of the same thing too. I mean, I'm not saying, hey, don't sleep ever, right? Because it's not smart, right? We are designed to sleep. But I remember vividly the first formal exams here in the UK, they used to be called O levels. Now they're called GCSEs. It's what kids do in school at about the age of 16. And there's 9 or 10 subjects that they then take these exams in. And it's at that point kind of like a big deal, right? And my first exam was English language on a Monday morning. And on the Sunday night, I couldn't sleep. I was anxious. I was worried. I was a bit excited as well. So there's a lot of this thing. I'll be in this room. Now, I've done exams before, right? But here was 3 exams that had the result had some kind of meaning for me in my mind at that point, right? So I didn't sleep. And when I got up, I was feeling so energized. So, wow, here we go. This is an adventure. Now, I forgot about that for years, because I used to think that sleep really mattered. I needed to get a minimum of 6 hours sleep. Otherwise, I'd be rubbish all day, and I'd be sick, and I'd have headaches and that kind of stuff. Look, sometimes they happen. Sometimes I am. But on that day, in that exam way back, this was in 1987, I was anticipated or forecasted a C grade in that exam in English language. I had no sleep, and I got an A. I absolutely killed it in that exam. It was freaking amazing. It was the best stuff I'd done in English language, way above expectations of what my teachers thought. 2 grades above it. So maybe sleep isn't that important as we think. Now, you could take that way beyond what I mean, right? But in the moment by moment, it isn't. It isn't. And I remember also having a great night's sleep and sucking at whatever my job was the next day. It doesn't have anything to do with it. But please don't take that as to anyone. If you're watching this and I'm saying, hey, sleep's not important, I'm not saying that. But what determines how we do is a lot simpler than we think. How we do in the moment has got nothing to do with anything other than now. And now has nothing to do with what we ate earlier, how much sleep we had, and the weather outside. Nothing to do with it right now. In my mind, right? And I've just seen too many examples. Like I'm just speaking from personal experience here. But yeah, it's far simpler than we make it.
And it's like when we leave everything, I felt a lot of problems with work and a lot of stuff going on on Friday. But then on Saturday, I was visiting my daughter and the grandchild, and they had a little baby rabbit, and I was up in this, and then I got a call with someone wanted me to come and work, and everything worked out, and I didn't plan for that. I was up in my my grandchild and the little rabbit, and it's like when you step away from all the stuff you need to do, something happens. And
Yeah.
it's always like that. When I don't search for it, it happens by itself. And that's the opposite what I have learned how it works. So we always try to do things to make it happen.
Yeah. Apparently, the very first personal development book was by a guy called Maxwell Maltz, and it's called Psycho-Cybernetics. I think I've got somewhere in this house, I've got 2 copies of it because I thought I lost the first one and then I bought it again. And effectively, what the writer says is all the examples where when our mind goes quiet, which is what you just suggested, fresh ideas come to solve things. We get fresh ideas. Right? Now, this guy wrote this back in, I think, the 1950s or something, maybe 1960s. I can't remember. Then what he did was, here's what you need to do in order to make sure that you build in quiet time in your day in order for these amazing ideas to come. And he you know, it's a really well-written book, even though it's now like 70 odd years old. And he talks about the rituals and the method for having this come about, which makes sense in the same way as, hey, if you're stuck about a work problem, go and play with a baby rabbit. Have tomatoes on a Monday night, right? Like my list in my flip chart. No, that's not the source of it. The source of it is inside, because that's how well we're made. We are made to have ideas come out of the blue that are fresh and innovative and stuff we haven't thought about before, or, you know, building 2 ideas together that come out of the blue from, I could put this and this together, bang, right? And a lot of the time, it's when we wait, the problems that we think are there just aren't there to begin with. A lot of them are that way. And I think it's really good to remember that by design, we are that damn well made. We are so well made. And it's easily misunderstood. Easily misunderstood. So, you know, like a mood. Because it looks bad, it must mean it is bad. No, doesn't mean that.
This is the most beautiful part of knowing from the inside what you tell now, because that's what made me go in this direction, that we have it already, all of us.
Yeah.
We just have to see it for ourselves,
and even
and
if we
look
don't,
at
it's still
people
there.
in that way.
Yeah. And even if we don't, it's still there.
Yeah, it's still there, but see each other on that knowing.
Yeah. I mean, it's really helpful, given what we do, you and I do. It's really helpful to understand that. But here's what I also notice as well. A friend of mine's wife, who I also have known for quite a while, the three of us used to work together a long time ago, way back. I'm going back into the 90s now, maybe the first part of the 2000s. And he's talking about his wife, and I know I've known him a lot longer. He's talking about his wife, says, darn it, Wyn, I mean, this person has nothing but confidence. I've never known anyone like it. I mean, it's one reason why I was so attracted to her, and that's how we, started seeing each other, and then eventually get married and everything. And it's just interesting to me that she'd never need any help with having a free mind, because it's like she hasn't learned to buy into the myths that some of us do. And to the point that you made, we learn away from our nature. My brother's got 2 grandkids. And I remember the younger one, they're both a lesson to me, one about resilience and one about moods and feelings. One I remember was crying his eyes out when he pulled up to my mother's house, his great-grandmother's house, because he'd been asleep in the car. In his mother's driving. So Rebecca's driving him and Violet, Jet and Violet, to my mother's house. And when he woke up from his nap in the car, this is a 4 or 5-year-old, he starts crying because he's grumpy waking up, right? And tears are rolling. Anyway, he sees me because he remembers, Wyn's around. Uncle Wyn's around. And he starts laughing. And at the same time, the tears are still coming down his face. And I'm going, that's us naturally. Yeah. That's us naturally. Yeah. And Violet teaches me all the time about how we are made to bounce back from stuff, given some of the challenges that she's had so far in her, however, well, she's 6 now, I think, maybe 7. I lose track over time. No, she's 6 and he's 4. That's right. It's just wonderful to see that is natural before we learn things that just aren't true about ourselves. Going back to something that you said early in today's chat.
So it's always now.
It's always now.
It's always now. And then we make up history about, that's because, and that's because, but that's only what we think about it.
Right. What we think now about stuff.
Yeah. We try to explain why, but it's just thoughts around it.
Yeah.
Because we want, the intellect wants to understand, why are these things happen to me?
Well, I was the master of the why question, thinking that was smart. I was digging a deeper hole. Why is always going to be deeper into things, right? And I'm so glad you said that, because it reminded me that why was my question whenever I wasn't feeling good, and all why ever did was make it last longer and feel worse. That's all why ever did, because it was more analytical.
It's like a history on a history on a story on a story and yeah, it moves on.
Yeah.
It's like all drama,
all head drama, all imaginary, illusory head drama.
And I still do sometimes, but it goes faster to see, here we go. I understand what I'm up to now.
Yeah.
Leave it. But sometimes you can't leave it.
Yeah.
You're a human. Sometimes you worried about things.
Yeah. I mean, if we were worried about being worried, I mean, geez, now we just like worry squared, right? It's just like worry multiplied by worry. Just like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm worried. Full stop.
And that
Nothing else.
and I have had a lot of pain in my body, and I really listen to Bill Pettit when he talks about the love letters, and I can see that so clearly for me when I feel like it start to hurt in my body or I get tense or something. I can see the sign.
Yeah.
I can see the sign, and then I notice it.
Yeah. Well, it just happened right now in real time. As you were saying that, I noticed that my back felt tight. And I hadn't known I was sitting like this for a bit. So I straightened as you were talking and I went, why did I move? Oh, yeah, because the right side of my spine was tight. It's a love letter saying, move a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, of course, is the truth about physical pain or discomfort is a sign to say something to look at here. And when it, to me anyway, when it's an emotional, if I'm feeling overwhelmed, as an example, well, that's another really good love letter. It's telling me one thing, not how much I've got to do, but how much I think I have to do now, how much I think I have to do all now. Overwhelm is a love letter from my mind telling me I've made something up that isn't true. Insecurity is another one. The feeling of insecurity. Now, this one I still fall for, right? And the same one with overwhelm, because sometimes it looks like, oh my Lord. Oh. But with insecurity, it's the similar thing, is that the feeling of insecurity is telling me one thing. I've made up something about myself. And life isn't about me. Ever. I'm living it, but there's nothing in life that's about me. There's nothing personal going on here. In a clear mind, I know not one thing in life can possibly be personal.
But it looks like.
Right.
It looks like, and it looks like for all of us.
Yeah. Insecurity is a wonderful signal telling me I've made something up about me that doesn't exist. It's cool, huh?
Yeah, I see. Like, I talked to Krista, a friend to Sydney Banks from Salt Spring Island. She teaches teacher that everyone has a guide inside.
Yeah. That's her book, right? The Guide Inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have felt that I'm guided. Even if I forgot sometimes, even if I don't feel it every single time, I can see that there is something higher, or something is holding me.
Can you think of an example? Say more about that, where you've noticed your guide inside.
When I'm trying too much to figure things out and I leave it, like I did this Saturday when I was visiting my grandchild, and I was leaving it, the thing with the work that I was going on and try to solve, and then the phone ring and it solved itself. It's like universe giving me something that I needed, but I was so up in it that I couldn't, it didn't come to me from I left it. And I don't know why or how. I don't think that we can explain that fully. We just know that something guides us. that I can't explain.
Yeah.
It's just there.
Yeah.
And it's not like I like every circumstances I'm in. But maybe I can't see it all. It's like I have my little seeing. So I don't know why it is what it is.
I think it's very profound to know or to notice that there are beautiful mysteries in this life. And they are beautiful sometimes because they're a mystery. And while, of course, there's lots of things that it's really helpful for us to figure out, really helpful. A couple of years ago, I went to Stonehenge, which is about an hour and a quarter's drive from me. And I've been there 3 times in my life to Stonehenge, but there was an assignment I was doing for writing class. And I thought, I'm going to go to Stonehenge. It might, be inspiration or something. And so I went. And I sat there and I walked around the stones a couple of times, and then I sat and just looked. And I just noticed that I loved the mystery of not knowing everything about them. Who built them? Why? The fact that they've been recycled at least twice, apparently, from other stone circles. And, to begin with, they were wooden. Then they had these other blue stones, and then they had these other larger stones on the outside and stuff. And just so many mysteries about it. And yet here I was, just in awe of the beauty of these that are thousands of years old. And the mystery is a part of their beauty. And to me, I then thought, well, geez, I analyze the beauty out of so many things. I could just leave things alone and enjoy the mystery. I hadn't had that thought until late 2021. I could just leave it alone and enjoy the mystery. Because I used to try and figure out that guide inside, try and make sense of it. I don't know if that's my job.
It's funny because I have always planned everything in a schedule, in a calendar. And these recordings I do here on this, my new channel, it's authentic. Yeah. I never know what we were supposed to talk about. And for 3 years ago, it shouldn't be been possible, because I wanted to know exactly what to say and how to do. But Kelly Mabel, she asked me in the Kind Mind community if I wanted to share in her in a webinar my story. And I said, no, I can't do that. I can't speak like that. I can't speak English. And this is 2 years ago. And I did that. She asked me many times, and we met in Copenhagen also. And she asked me again. And after a while, I said, okay, I will do it. I will do it. And now I've just continued to do it. But I didn't see that come. It was coming. And I wasn't planned what I was going to say. I just follow what comes. And in English.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that great to notice?
Yeah.
Just to follow what comes. Maybe it is that simple. Maybe everything is that simple.
Yeah. I often say a simplicity to know, even if you don't feel like life is simple, because I haven't felt before that life is simple. So it can be, for a lot of people, it can make people upset to when I say, oh, life is simple. I felt that.
Yeah.
But if I say that there is a simplicity to know about your thoughts and emotions.
Yeah. Yeah, because sometimes it's easy for us to take a comment like life is simple as we can take that personally. Think, well, no, it isn't. Do you know what I'm up against? Do you know the stuff of my life? Yeah, I'd have said that if someone would have said to me, life is simple. Now, it doesn't mean they were wrong. I just couldn't see it. Just couldn't see it. A friend of mine said recently, who's in the principals community, he said something like, you know, the question I love to ask people is, does making anything more complex solve anything? Do you do better when you make things more complex? And everyone, no. All right, good enough. It's just like, oh, all right. So maybe the direction is to look towards simplicity and see what we see in the direction of simplicity, to see what is available and what might be true. What might be true. Yeah, because I don't think anything in my life looks simple. Oh, and there are times it doesn't. When I'm down here, right? That last hour last night, from a bit of time this morning, yeah, nothing looks simple. But up here, it does. It's just like, do what occurs.
It's like it is simple behind all the stuff.
Right. Behind all the stuff that I don't even know I'm making up. It's all simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we do have all this stuff. We go around with all this stuff.
Yep.
Every one of us.
That looks real.
It looks really real. It does. But it's very good to know who we are behind the noise.
Yeah.
Like your podcast.
Yeah.
Says,
under the noise.
Under the noise. Under the noise.
Under the noise of all of that personal thinking is, yeah, who I've always been and who I often forget exists and what I'm made of. And how well I was made. I still find that a very, I kind of pinch myself when I say that. I know that I mean it, given what I thought about myself and life itself for the first 40 plus years of my life. I find that extraordinary to be able to say what I just said and know the truth of it. So if anyone's watching and that doesn't make sense yet, hang in there. Watch more of Cecilia's stuff and you'll start seeing more and more.
Where can they find you, Wyn?
Where can they find me? I don't want anyone to find me. I hide. I've got a cave. I'm easily found online, right? Wyn Morgan, there aren't that many of us. And if you put Wyn Morgan,
I found you on Instagram.
You did? Yeah. Well, I can be found on
I
Instagram,
have listened to
LinkedIn,
you on Facebook and YouTube.
Yeah. There's like various stuff on there. My online presence isn't particularly quite. There's only 2 Wyn Morgans that have got any online presence. And the other guy is an economics professor. I'm not him, even though sometimes he gets emails asking him if he's Wyn Morgan the coach, and I get emails asking me if I'm the economics professor. So we find that funny. We don't know each other, but because of crossed lines, we kind of connected. But yeah, the Wyn Morgan coach is me and the Wyn Morgan economics professor isn't. That's how easy it is to find me.
Wyn, it was so nice to have this talk together.
Yeah, it was lovely. Thanks very much.
I'm happy you wanted to come in so quickly when we decide.
Thrilled, and
Yeah.
I'm dodging some writing homework as I speak to you, right? So I'm not going to tell anyone about that.
And you are so welcome again.
Oh, thank you. It's really lovely to talk with you. It's been really cool today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you another time then, Wyn.
I hope so. That would be lovely, and in person sometime, I hope to.
Yeah, I hope so too. I hope so too. Thank you very much.
Thank you.